use of the land, the sea, the future, and the people. You heard probably. They don't put money there for the sake of earth. I know. And so much people believe in peace, progress, and prosperity.
We don't need the LNG off of Point Conception. It's the most dangerous area of water on the west coast. As far as traffic for ships goes, it would destroy the fishing grounds in Santa Barbara. It would destroy the surf. It would change the water temperature, be dead fish everywhere. And I think that this channel here, the Santa Barbara Channel, is just known to be a treacherous body of water. Super tankers coming into this area would just be a disaster. I think that really the primary reason for our being here today is that that land is Indian sacred land. This is where their ancestors have been buried. You wouldn't put it a pier off of the Santa Barbara Cemetery, you know. The blue-haired ladies of Montecito wouldn't let you do that. Well, we won't let you do it off Point Conception either, because it's Indian sacred land.
Demonstrators have come here to the Lobero Theatre in downtown Santa Barbara to protest the Federal Energy Regulation Commission hearings on the Point Conception LNG site. They have come here to voice their protests inside and outside, most of them gathering inside, but the capacity of the auditorium just would not allow for all the demonstrators to stay there. Therefore, we have this demonstration taking place right now. This demonstration will have any kind of impact on the hearings here?
We're hoping it'll have impact both on the hearing and the people in the county of Santa Barbara and the state of California.
What is the hope as far as the Indians are concerned? I know they haven't given up hope yet. What is the feeling generally on the part of the Indians here?
I feel very good and very confident, and people, I think, I hesitate to call this a demonstration. I call it more a show of support for the rights of the Native American people to worship as they please.
Presiding Judge Samuel Gordon recessed the hearing as soon as the demonstrators filled the auditorium. The judge told us later it was purely a coincidence that the recess came at the same time as the protest. Flynn and Tom Hayden called for order and nonviolence inside, and the protesters responded quickly with silence. The FERC then came back out and resumed the hearings. Up to this point, the hearings have centered mostly around the spiritual significance of the historic Indian burial sites at two villages at Point Conception.
We found three, at the proposed site, we found the locations of three archaeological sites which are the remains of Native American settlements. And these settlements would probably have had cemeteries associated with them, as most other settlements we know along in this area have. We also found the remains of a large depression about 13 meters by 17 meters, which we identified as tentatively the remains of a large community sweat lodge, which would be a place where the Chumash would have worshipped, had prayer meetings and things like that.
Tomorrow is the last day of the commission hearings. More than 26 private citizens, some from the County Board of Supervisors and the City Council, are scheduled to address the commission. Judge Gordon will study all the facts brought out in 3 days of testimony and then make a recommendation to the FERC and the Economic Regulatory Commission. What kind of impact this recommendation will make on the final decision on LNG at Point Conception is not yet known. In Santa Barbara, this is Mark Dalton for Key Television News.
This building here at Lookout Park in Summerlin is only one of the reasons why Summerlin residents are in disagreement with county park officials. The new plan for this park calls for the destruction of these buildings and the removal of some trees in order to provide more parking.
We're pretty disappointed and we're pretty angry at what they have come up with. They have essentially the same plan, only worse. than they did in the beginning. And this plan pretty effectively wipes out our present park and does nothing except make a parking lot out of the other park. Originally, at each of the meetings which were held, the majority of the people wanted a building, one of these old buildings over there, left so that they could rehabilitate it and use it as a community center. But apparently the park department decided that they knew better, and we're running up against this just like everybody else. They always know better than the local people.
Now, Summerlin residents are meeting to discuss it, with hopes of convincing the park department to revise their plans. But the final decision will be made by the County Board of Supervisors on Monday. In Summerlin, this is Leslie David for KEYT Television News.
Tenants here at the Dahlia Court Apartments are claiming rental contracts being used against them in a court battle are forgeries. But the attorney for building owner Raymond Pollard says the whole idea is ridiculous.
I think that accusation is patently ridiculous, although it's not particularly surprising considering the emotional tenor of this case. Now, it is a fact that I talked to the managers, and the managers have assured me that the agreements that are in evidence were in fact signed by the people representing that they were the tenants signing them. And none of the managers have forged the signatures on anything.
And no one else has, to your knowledge, either?
No one else has, to my knowledge, either. And as I say, I think the charges are ridiculous, the accusations are ridiculous, but not altogether surprising considering the emotional tenor of this case.
This has indeed become an emotional issue, and it will only be resolved in court. The real question being, should the tenants be evicted for not paying their rent, or are they morally right when they say the rent is too high? From Carpinteria, Bill Pierce reporting for KEYT Television News.
Once again, the City Council is looking at the complex problem of low-cost housing in Santa Barbara. The city staff is recommending a 12-part plan that could add 125 units of housing north of Carrillo Street. And they're adding a new staff position, that of housing coordinator.
The council authorized the plan and is now recruiting for the new position. The housing coordinator will be paid $21,000 a year. 1/3 of the money will come from the Community Development Department and the rest from general fund revenue sources. He or she will work to organize all future plans. Among those plans is to begin a land banking program. The coordinator will be in charge of finding land for new proposed housing. Besides new housing, the program calls for the rehabilitation of units in the area that can be used for low-income housing. From Santa Barbara City Hall, this is Jackie Markin reporting for KEYT Television News.
The North County renovations have taken on an atmosphere of the game of musical chairs. The public defender is moving into Welfare's old building. Welfare has a new home. The district attorney's child support unit is going into probation's old offices, and probation is now in the refurbished hospital complex. This is all in the name of saving space, creating more space, fixing up facilities, and helping the handicapped.
The basic building renovations are probably going to be in the neighborhood of $70,000 to $80,000. However, we have a policy when we do that kind of renovations in our county buildings. We also try to bring them up to the physically handicapped codes. This will require the conversion of certain bathrooms for physically handicapped and the installation of an elevator in an existing two-story building in Santa Maria at the cost of probably $70,000 to $75,000.
When will all this be complete?
The project is actually underway now, and we would hope to have it completed, including the elevator, in the next 6 months, by July 1, hopefully.
Under the law, Santa Barbara County is not required to add the improvements for the handicapped when making renovations. But since the general public is, the county thinks it's only proper. I'm Bill Pierce reporting for KEYT Television News.